Say you were diagnosed with a terminal disease with a set number of days left. Now, most people will try and fight it and increase their number of days, at least hope to increase their number of days. But what if the disease was so crippling that most of your day was filled with pain and just was unbearable? Let's take the butterfly tumor, or butterfly glioma, or glioblastoma multiforme. This is a fast-growing tumor of the brain that affects the brain itself, according to the AASN.org. This tumor is also a rapid-growing tumor that is painful to those who are diagnosed with it, and they also die within a few months of being diagnosed. The reason it is called the butterfly tumor is it starts on one side and makes its way to the other side, creating the butterfly. Now, with this tumor being so active and fast spreading, and having such a fast expiration date attached to it, it would only be fair to say that having the option to die with dignity and on your own terms would be the best possible outcome if, in fact, you or someone you loved was ever put in this situation. Death with dignity, or physician-assisted suicide, or euthanasia, is somewhat of a taboo subject for most people because of the option to take one's own life. But when it comes to the circumstances, aren't we just taking our lives back into our own hands? Death with dignity is a law that is recognized in 4 states. This law is stating that if someone over the age of 18 has a disease that has a lifespan of 6 months or less, they can request the aid of a physician to help them end their own lives. This is not an easy process to go through. The person requesting death with dignity has to be physically able to request it for themselves. For example, Oregon's law reads, an adult who is capable and is a resident of Oregon and has been determined by a attending physician and a consulting physician to be suffering from a terminal disease and who has voluntarily expressed his or her wish to die may make a written request for medication for the purpose of ending his or her own life in a humane and dignified way. Like Oregon's law, also with Washington, Montana, and Vermont, they all read the same according to procon.org. Also, death with dignity is not as easy of a process to go through. Not only does one person have to be able to communicate the wish that they have verbally to go to the process, but the process also takes 20 days to even go through. Some of the reason people choose to go with death with dignity is due to many reasons. The biggest one of all is to end their suffering on their own time, in a peaceful way. A quote from Faye Girish, from the senior advisor for Final Exit Network, states, Americans should enjoy the right guaranteed in the European Declaration of Human Rights, the right not to be forced to suffer. Death with dignity is something that everyone should be allowed the option for, if in fact it does end their suffering. However, not many believe that death with dignity should even be an option. Some of the arguments against death with dignity are that in the end the person is still committing suicide, according to the NRLC.org. If one is seeking out assistance with suicide, then they must have a mental disorder that compares to those who take their own life willingly. The law for death with dignity is the law states within the death with dignity law that if a patient is found to be showing the same symptoms of those that choose and willing to commit suicide on their own, that they must go through a mental evaluation in order to clarify whether they are ending their own lives due to their suffering or due to just wanting to end their own life. Another argument towards the death with dignity law is that patients that choose to go with death with dignity are under extreme pain. This pain is so excruciating that it interferes with their day-to-day life. For example, the butterfly tumor that I talked about recently, or talked about a moment ago, the butterfly tumor in its final stages creates such immense headaches that one cannot go throughout the day without experiencing so much pain. So with death with dignity, this would get them out of that vicious cycle of having to go through pain every day and suffering every day, along with many types of cancers and many types of tumors. According to the NRC.org, is that any and all pain can be treated with the right medication, but just like the butterfly tumor, that pain cannot be treated with just a simple medication. Whether you are for or against death with dignity, keep in mind that the greatest human freedom is to live and die. But for those of us who are only in the for those who are only in the dying stages, they should be able to choose their own fate. If they want to fight this painful, depleting fight or go out on their own terms, death with dignity is not an easy way out. It's making going out easier on the person and their loved ones. Death with dignity has been found that if the person goes out on his or her own time, the family and the person don't suffer as much due to not having to experience the suffering of the person that is choosing to opt out with death with dignity. And that is according to the Death with Dignity National Center.